Well, hello to all of our delegates from around the world. Welcome to our Gold Learning online conference and a very special event coming up here at Gold Learning. As you can see in front of you, if you're watching your screen right now, you can see that we have the delightful Ruth Lucas, who is going to be coming up very soon here. I've got the dates for you right now. September 9th, there's going to be a live free webinar where you can earn yourself a free LSERP as well. You can see she's going to be talking about promoting self-management of breast and nipple pain during breastfeeding. So a big welcome to Ruth. Welcome to Gold Learning here. Again, Ruth, it's great to have you back here.
It's great to be back. I'm excited to present on this really important topic that most women experience, and yet it's not something we really talk about.
No, I know, and shockingly, really, because if I, start to play out the scenarios of, the women that I've met and spoken to and taught and educated over the years, there's plenty of them. So I know that we're gonna jump into this topic in just a moment here. But I wanted to, I was going to tell the audience a little bit of our background story because you and I met a couple of years ago. I remember that moment, Ruth. I don't know if you remember, but you met me at one of my events, one of the exhibits I was at. I could not stop talking with you that day about this topic because I was so passionate about it, and you were telling me about all the research you were doing. And I think we could have spent the whole day just talking about this specific topic. Do you remember that time, Ruth?
I do. It was a national conference, and I was looking for you, and I was so excited that you were there because I do think this is a topic that needs to be talked about.
That's right. That's right. And in placing you at this event, which is really, this is a really exciting event that we hold here at Gold traditionally at this time of year, making it not only it's free and open access, which is amazing and awesome because it means that anyone around the world is going to have access to this event. But not only that, they're going to earn themselves a free CEU or an LSERP, as you can see on the screen here. So what a great way, as we call it, sort of we kick off to the season of learning here at Gold. So just some great things and opportunities coming up. You'll be able to go to our Gold Learning website at goldlearning.com and register for this event. Of course, watch all our social media events, sign up for the email list as well, and you'll be able to connect with all of us here at Gold Learning and, of course, be part of this free webinar. Okay, Ruth, let's dive into some things here. So I pre-warned Ruth that I was going to ask her some things about her life. She's been very busy this summer. As you mentioned earlier, Ruth, you've just had a very busy summer, which is, you said, was a little bit unusual for you. So why don't you just start us off, reintroduce yourself to the audience, perhaps by sharing where you are in the world and what your summer has looked like so far.
So I'm at the University of Connecticut, and I am in the process of acquiring tenure. And for those in the world, Connecticut is not a place you think about. Most of you know New York, and we're about 3 hours sandwiched between New York and Boston. And we're way out in the country. We have cows on our campus. It's a really lovely, quiet place to come. In the process of my research, in order to keep my job at UConn, I have to go up for tenure next year. And so I've been very busy this summer trying to make sure that I can explain and disseminate, talk about all the exciting things we've learned from this this pilot study. What we're talking about today came from this pilot study. We've also found some genetic pieces that seem to make women at risk for experiencing breast and nipple pain during breastfeeding, and we're also looking at the role of emotion and emotional regulation as it's related to pain. So I've been busy this summer working on those additional publications. I'm very passionate about breastfeeding, and when you look at the 3 major reasons why women stop breastfeeding, one is pain, one is the idea that there's an issue with milk insufficiency, and one is because they aren't sure the baby's getting enough to eat. And I think that there is a huge gap in our tools that we have very little scientific instruments and biomedical devices that can help us in real time seeing what's happening with breastfeeding. So one of the things I've been doing this summer is working with some bioengineering teams to build and test a biomedical device that we can capture what's happening from the breast to the baby's stomach as far as what's going on with breastfeeding. Is it a mom issue? Is it a baby issue? So in my passion to help mothers and babies, I want to be able to have objective measures. So I'm going to build it so that we can use it so that we can help moms and babies. So that's why I've been so busy this summer.
Well, that sounds like it would certainly take up a lot of your time for sure, and moving into probably a busy season in the fall as well, but getting well prepared. I was really interested to like your work spans over a couple of decades, shall we say, 20 plus years. And so tell me a little bit about your start in terms of just working with parents and breastfeeding families. When did that all come about for you?
Um, I transitioned into maternal child nursing um, in the late 80s. And during that time, I also had my own children. And in having my own children and breastfeeding my own sons, I noticed that my sons breastfed very differently. They approached this behavior differently. And then as I worked weekend shift on the night shift, when there's very little lactation support in most institutions,
Sure.
I did a lot of that bedside care where I would look at a well-prepared, well-educated, all the things that you would hope a mom be.
Sure.
One mom would be doing great, one mom would be doing okay, one mom would be totally struggling. And I thought to myself, this is a behavior that takes mom and baby. So why is all of our focus on mom and we're not doing a whole lot in evaluating what the baby is bringing to breastfeeding and what can their breastfeeding behaviors tell us about them as a neurological being from the very beginning. And after raising my sons and watching them go through school and seeing their learning behaviors seem to mirror what they did at the breast,
Right.
um, I just decided I was going to explore this question, and that's what made me decide to go into academia so that I could find a way to methodically explore and provide a way that infants can tell us what they think about breastfeeding. There's no voice for the infant right now. It's all focused
Mhm.
on what the mom is doing. And
Totally.
so we need to find a way to give the babies a voice and have them tell us something that maybe we can start very early identifying infants that are going to need help with learning throughout their lifespan.
Yeah, absolutely. I think this is something that after, many years in the field too, I have come to understand and appreciate that the learned behaviors prior to coming into being a mom don't always translate into understanding what the infant is saying. That often, these little ones don't have a voice, as you said, which is such a key value, but that observational behavior that needs to be learnt by the parent who's breastfeeding in order to really understand. It goes way beyond, infant feeding cues, as you and I have talked about before. But me too. It's so funny how you just have clients that you can really relate to, Ruth. But I just had a client this past week, and this was her third baby. She had successfully breastfed the last two, and this one was tripping her up. And there was nothing more than it was a state of everyone had got into a place of disorganization, and she just couldn't hear what this baby was telling her. And so I just love that fascination of moving beyond just the latch, actually starting off with behavioral aspects of both mother and baby and how they're going to work well together. It's a phenomenal research area as well, and I just love it that you're so passionate about that as well.
And I think if we can help mothers understand that breastfeeding is not solely based on their effort,
Mm-hmm.
that their baby is bringing something to this, that no matter how great a mother and how great they are at breastfeeding successfully to other babies, that they can realize that the baby is separate from them and that their job is to help their baby. It's not their value as a mother,
Mm-hmm.
but as a mother, they can support their baby, and then they may come to the decision that their baby is just so challenged and so overwhelmed that there might be other decisions they need to make, and then it's no longer her value as a mother.
Mm.
It's her as a mother helping her baby. And that is a very subtle difference, but
Mm-hmm.
I think it's an extremely important difference.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm really keen to see sort of a bit more of a standard in care as well for lactation consultants out there that they can really invest in this type of work, that it does bring such a great value. Once these things are sort of sorted out or there's been an evaluation in this behavioral area, I think then we can move on to the aspects of, what else is going on and what can be corrected or improved and those types of things. But there really needs to be sort of a foundational effort put into understanding these, biobehavioral mechanisms that happen at the breast as well, which is just so fascinating. Ruth, I want to ask you a couple more questions leading into this topic that you're going to be, again, you'll be with us live on September 6th. And I don't know if did I mention to everyone already, Ruth, that they can actually listen to the recording too. So if they can't make the live day, they'll actually have opportunity to listen to the recorded version. So there's no need for anyone to miss out on this great presentation. So looking at your presentation in terms of pain management, do you find that this is something that we just sort of skim over or we're very quick to just put a Band-Aid on things, at the breast? Do you feel like we've just not given enough attention in this area? So tell me what you think has been the problem all along in terms of our working within the field as well with lactation consultants and parents.
Well, I think there's been a tremendous effort in educating women about the importance of breastfeeding. And
Mm-hmm.
so there's been a huge amount of public health initiatives. And
Mm-hmm.
so we've tried to give mothers that value. But I feel like at the same time, we don't we don't give them a true picture of what might happen with breastfeeding.
Mm-hmm.
Instead, we give them the Madonna halo look of breastfeeding, that, mom and baby with this celestial feeling is going to happen as soon as you breastfeed. And the
Right.
reality is there's a lot of learning that goes with this, and it's messy, and it can be uncomfortable for many women, and it can be painful. And I don't think women get that message ahead of time.
Mm-hmm.
And then, like any of us, we may be excited about an adventure we're going on, but if the adventure, the first thing we experience is pain instead of this celestial moment, now moms are not only dealing with the physical part, they're dealing with emotional cognitive dissonance. And I think as clinicians, we can prepare moms beforehand that
Mm-hmm.
it might be uncomfortable, and for some women it might be painful, and pain is not okay. It should be described, discussed, and intervened. And so I think we need to give mothers those tools.
Right.
um, I can digress more if you would like.
No, I'm just always in awe of listening to how you see and perceive things that are happening in the field because I think you always, I mean, your stuff, Ruth, there's no doubt about it. I mean, this is your life's work and I see, all the elements that you've put into this. I guess, this is why we're here today is because this presentation is going to be so important for so many working in the field, really to get a better handle and understanding on the things that we've done well and the things that we can do even better, and of course, talking about the subject matter of pain, because I can see, it's almost like the alarm bells are going off in my head as I can see clearly that, talking about pain for women and parents breastfeeding post-birth, we've elevated it so high that when there is pain and discomfort, which often people might hear, well, you shouldn't have any pain. You shouldn't have any. But when they do have it, the crash between being lifted up so high and exalted there and then the crash down, to experiences, they don't mash up. And that's what you were saying, is that there's this distance between them. And it's so very disappointing because, of course, it's impacting the numbers on how long, family members and parents and mothers are breastfeeding long term, which is really sad. And it's got to be having an impact globally around the world. And I think that's why we had talked about, why this meets the needs of so many people internationally. Do you often, in the opportunity to talk with, parents and mothers who have breastfed and perhaps ended their journey sooner than they expected, what do they tell you in terms of what they wanted to know? Do they directly tell you, I wish someone had just told me what it was going to be really like?
There are two exemplars I think of from our study. One was a woman who had nursing background, was trained as a nurse, and knew everything there was to know about breastfeeding, and had significant excruciating pain for several weeks,
Right.
to the point where it was interfering with her bonding.
Right.
And she wanted permission and affirmation
Mm.
that she was still a good mother when she chose to provide breast milk instead of directly breastfeed, because the pain was causing her to not even want to look at her baby.
Wow.
And then the other example was a woman who was in our control group,
Right.
who we really didn't give them a lot of information about that there was going to be pain. But she filled out a survey at the end of the week that said, how are you managing your pain? And then there was a list. And the light went off in her head that what she was experiencing was normal for many, many women. And it got her over the hump to get through that short, brief period of pain, and the enthusiasm in her voice that says, it's 6 months and we're still breastfeeding, I can't stop. So I think people need permission to know that it could be painful, that it should be transitional, and that if it's creating a barrier for her to be a good mother, we need to give them permission to be the best mother they can be.
Excellent. I think that's what every parent should hear. There's no doubt about it. But I can't wait to hear more of how this really all came about, the results that you've been looking at, and all the things that happened in this, in this research that you've been doing. So I'm going to leave it there today, because again, I think we're going to run into a time slot here where we could talk all day about this. There's no doubt about it. And I'm so excited to be able to share this work. And I'm excited to share Ruth Lucas with everybody on our Gold Learning platform. It's going to be absolutely fantastic. Ruth, thank you so much for taking all my questions today and diving into this topic once again. It's just always so great to chat with you.
It's lovely to talk with you also, Fiona.
And so again, quick reminder to all of you listening, and don't forget, you can see on your screen, if you're looking at the video of this, you'll see that, excuse me, that this is a free webinar. It's going to be available live on September 9th. As I mentioned before, you don't have to come on that live day, but you do need to register for this event, because this is going to be a free LCERT for you as well. You can use it for your continuing education purposes. So you'll have all of that there. You can find it on goldlearning.com. And of course, we are on the social media channels as well. And we'll look forward to seeing you on Facebook and Instagram and Twitter, and of course, YouTube. Well, thanks again to Ruth Lucas for being with us here today. And of course, to all of you, our delegates, for listening in once again. We'll look forward to having you back very soon. Bye-bye for now, everyone.